Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for taking time out for this session. And we have a pretty esteemed, panel here with the who's who of the retail world in India, with whom we want to discuss the future of Omni-Channel. Before we start, just a quick round of introduction. So, just if you could tell about yourself, your business line, and what are your thoughts on Omni-Channel? Some opening thoughts, and then we can take a discussion from there.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Vivek. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Being Human Clothing. I was speaking right before this, so sorry, you're going to suffer my voice a little more. I've been selling clothes all my life, and I would say in my entire career, this is the most exciting brand that I'm working on, because this is a brand that is a clothing line with a heart in true sense. We sell clothes not because we want to make a lot of money for someone. We sell clothes because we want to make a lot of money that can go into the twin cause of healthcare and education of children around the country and the world. So that's
great. Abhishek.
Okay. So, hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Abhishek. I represent a 90-year-old iconic brand called Lacoste. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the brand. Here on this stage, we will be talking more about the Omni-Channel solution that we are currently using, what is our experience, and what is the, I would say, improvement that we will be looking into the product. So we'll continue, we'll share our thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, Raghu.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Raghu Sethuraman. I'm the Chairman and CEO for Shobitam. Shobitam is a young startup in the ethnic fashion space. And we obviously have a big vision to democratize ethnic fashion globally. Looking forward to talking about digitizing payments, which we think is actually a core asset and a critical need for every omni-channel or a digital-first brand. My background in a nutshell, 25 years in the industry, started with Amazon 25 years ago, and then over the last 7-8 years, led cloud for Microsoft, and now joined a startup, Shobitam. Exciting days ahead.
Great. Vinod.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vinod Kapote. I head IT for Trent Limited. We own brands like Westside, Zudio, Star Bazaar, Booker, and look forward for an engaging conversation.
Sure. Prashant.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Myself, Prashant Prakash, heading IT for Metro Brands Limited. I am having total 25 years of experience in the field of information technology. Out of that, 15 years in the retail industry.
Oh, thank you very much, and thanks, folks. I'm Atul Mehta, Senior Vice President at Razorpay. And Razorpay, we are into end-to-end money movement. We do inwards money acceptance, we do outward, we do lending, borrowing, corporate cards, POS machines, in-store payments, and now with EasyTap acquisition, we've completed the whole journey of the money movement. And money movement is the only thing that we'll not discuss about in this. Because me being from sales background, if I start a 45-minute pitch that I'll give why you should have Razorpay. Anyways,
You still haven't completed 360. Cash management is still left.
वो भी करते हैं sir. Cash anyways is our biggest competition. We want to eliminate cash from the system. Cash होना ही नहीं चाहिए sir. Okay. Folks, I just want to first open the discussion with understanding the Omni-Channel thing. Maybe I'll just share a couple of thoughts that I have on Omni-Channel before I talk to the esteemed panel. For me, Omni-Channel means the barriers between offline and online are diminished. I can buy online, return in store, buy online, exchange in store, go to a store, buy something online delivered at my home, or I can go to, say, a grocery hypermarket and buy some things which are out of stock, I just pay for them, they get delivered to my place. So that is like my outside-in definition of Omni-Channel. And I'm sure all of you have further nuances to that. I'll want to start with Vinod. Vinod, while we're discussing the Omni-Channel, one thing that you spoke about was the inventory, sync and use. And he gave an interesting, nugget of how they stack inventory 1, 2, 2, 1. Yeah. 1, 2, 2, 1 means small 1, medium 2, large 2, and extra large 1. That's how the inventory. I never noticed it Now when I go, I'll see 1 to 2, 1 pattern there. And you feel that one of the major disturbances that omnichannel will or might or can cause for you is this inventory sync. Can you throw more light on this?
Sure, Atul. So typically what happens most of the times is, and that 1-2-2-1 by the way is called a ratio pack in the business, in the fashion industry. What happens most of the times is the fact that in a store you would only have on an average one ratio pack for any SKU that you, or any option that you plan to sell. And if that is the case, it becomes very, very difficult to actually keep that ratio pack available both for the offline as well as the online customer. Because both of them are competing for the same SKU or the same size of that SKU. And eventually, if there is only one quantity inside of the store that you want to basically allow the customers to compete upon, whether it is an online or an offline customer, it becomes extremely difficult to then sum it up together and eventually show a point of view to the customer. Eventually, at a store, what do we want to do with the customers? We want to present a point of view to the customer saying, this is how my store, or this is how my look for a particular occasion or a particular area that I want to focus upon. We would want to replicate the exact same experience online also. And which means that I need to always have that ratio pack in full available. Now, it means that it can be fulfilled through multiple stores in an online business, because I can connect multiple stores to my online business and show it in full for the customers. But because the quantities are so less per store, it becomes extremely difficult to ensure that the sync of inventory is right. And when I say sync of inventory, it is primarily the fact that that one quantity that is inside of the store, while it is showing available online, it is actually lying in a customer bag waiting to be billed, or maybe sitting in a trial room, or maybe even at a point of sale where she has actually rejected it with a change of mind kind of a behavior. And searching for that then becomes a big challenge, even if you take an order on. And that is one of the biggest challenges that we probably have in our business to tackle with.
Okay, I think that problem has a different connotation for Prashant, because left, right, shoes are two different things, So that's why we're talking about depth and breadth of inventory. That is one thing that we are discussing.
Yes.
If you could throw more line on that, because Vinod covered the premise of this problem.
Yes.
So how do you see when you sell shoes?
See, basically, whenever it is coming to the shoes, unlike the apparel industry, we have one pair kept on the showroom and for the display, and rest showrooms rest shoes or rest pair of the shoes are kept on the mezzanine floor somewhere. Okay, so identifying right pair is a challenge, rightly said by Vinod. Apart from that, whenever it is coming to the buffer stock, so that if I am having a lesser value of the inventory available into the stores, I cannot make it live on the multiple channels. Like we are dealing into the our own brand sites as well as marketplaces. So accordingly, we'll have to consider the buffer ratio onto it. So the width and breadth, depth of the inventory goes drop down. So that's why to mitigate all these issues, we have gone live for the more and more stores.
So Vivek, how do you tackle this? Are you doing it right now? Do you see this problem coming in?
So, if you ask me frankly, this is there. This is there with everyone. This is something that you cannot avoid, right? One of the things that we do when we integrate the products from stores live on our websites and marketplaces is that we allocate a certain level of buffer. So, if a certain SKU is at a level of inventory which is below the buffer, it goes offline. At least I'm not creating a situation where consumers placed an order and that inventory is not physically available and not served. Another thing that we do is that other than keeping our stores live on our sites and our marketplaces, we also have our warehouse live on our marketplaces. So warehouse at least is a more consolidated inventory, that's a more stable inventory. It's something that is not being sold at all times at different stores. So there's a certain amount of protection that you get there. But if you ask me frankly, can you avoid this problem? No, it is absolutely impossible, because it is exactly same as having a cut size in the store, right? So if you are having a lot of it, it's not a bad problem to have at all because you're selling well. But reality is that the more scattered my inventory is, the more problem I'd face. So one way that we have figured is have one consolidated place, one dark store within the warehouse, hold some inventory there and try and kind of manage the
Okay.
issues.
On this, Abhishek, you were discussing about, two additional things to this. One is the QC of the returns, because yours is a high-end brand. And, we see fake crocodiles everywhere, okay? But the original crocodiles is very difficult for, at least for us to find out how they come. So QC of returns in store, first thing. Second, you also spoke about the mindset of the training of the people in store is towards selling and not towards accepting returns. And you also, we are also discussing about, how the mindset of person returning is very rude. He'll just throw it and say, take it back, I'm going. So, I mean, how do you tackle this problem, which is maybe niche to niche brands like you?
Okay, thank you. So I'll tell you, we are probably one of the early adopter of this Omni-Channel technology. We started our Omni-Channel journey with the Arvind Internet's Omni platform. So for us, this whole thing was a great idea. What is happening by adoption of this technology is you are exposing your entire inventory and your sell-throughs are going up. In apparel, you call it sell-throughs. So probably the chance of you selling the same merchandise from another location goes high if in case the other one has the visibility of the inventory available. So that's good idea, and probably we all should do it. Now comes to the second part of this, which is the logistics. How do we manage it? Initially, we struggled a lot because the logistics companies were really not able to solve this issue. I think that's past 2 now. You have hyperlocal 2 hours deliveries and so forth. So I think if I talk about logistics in 2 ways, the forward and the backward, I think forward, everything is done. So tech is done, forward logistics is done. Now we need to really see and understand how we are tackling the reverse part of it, which is slightly bit more complicated to handle. The first complication is, we all know e-commerce business is a business wherein you will expect X% of return for whatever channel that you do. And that X% has a typical problem is return to source. So if you have built it from Delhi, you take it back, return as in Delhi because of the GST compliance that you have, or you decide to let go your GST. That's problem 1. The second problem is the reconciliation. If in case you are allowing your customer to return to your store, it means you have, at the back end, you have to do this reconciliation. The money collected in Delhi, money refunded in Pune is basically the point of reconciliation that will come. Third problem, which is a unique and I think that can be solved, is payment of margin to the developer while billing it to the end customer from our store, to the platform through which you are selling the product, likes of Myntra, etc. And then doing this reconciliation, because whatever margin is gone to your developer, you cannot go back and claim that margin back from them. So these are a few financial challenges that you have. So if you ask me how we are tackling it, probably we have decided, and I can say with that being a high price merchandise, I can take this leverage of let go some percentage of this, and I can take that cost on me. Because what is it giving me is the chance of selling the merchandise and increasing my sell-through, which internally giving me a bottom line or a top line that I'm looking at. The only 2-3 more challenges that we need to solve, and the return part of it, the logistics return, it is so messy when you start taking return in the store, because logistics guy is not ready to wait for you to open the package and see whether you have a genuine Lacoste or a fake Lacoste inside. That's problem 1. Second, with all the marketplaces that you work, you need 6-angle camera, photo, video to prove your claim that whatever the product that you have received is not the right product. These are a few things that we need to solve, and I think once we are ready to solve or we have a solution around it, we can do it. There are a few people who talks about dark stores, etc., etc. Probably in a large network, you can have dark stores where you do all these return activity. But a company like us, wherein we see the profitability right from day one, you can't afford to have dark stores in your system. And hence, you have to really push it out of the system or you make it work. So for us, I think in this room or anywhere, whenever we talk in the industry, I think that's the only problem left now, which is stopping this whole Omni-Channel to come to a 360 degree. So solve it and let's move forward. That's what my idea is.
No, that's useful. Raghu, you were talking about the supplier and vendor integration, the back-end integration. So everyone has spoken about the forward part of the reverse logistics, basically the in-store part. What are your thoughts and what are the challenges and how are you solving these? And since you come from a tech background where you've developed the technology also, so you've seen both sides of the world literally. So what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Just to kind of close out one quick point on the front end piece, because I think there was an excellent point about inventory sync and the criticality of it. For us, we absolutely started as a digital first brand, which meant that we could have universal selection, right? But at the same time, our products are very unique, which means that we don't have 2, 10, 15 of every product. It's one of a kind. At the same time, we do list it pretty much not just our website or Omni-Channel, but in several marketplaces. So having that sync almost real time is extremely important for us. We can't wait for a midnight sync, if you will, right? Because it's just too late. So that's very, very critical as we think about sync and accuracy, the real-time nature of it. Now, the same thing applies on the back end. When you've got that kind of selection, and just to give you guys a perspective, we launch anywhere between 200 to 300 new SKUs every week. So when you have that kind of a new product introduction happening all the time in an agile manner, you obviously have tremendous needs on the back end, right? So we work with so many different weavers, artisans, suppliers on the back end, and this is an industry which is not tech savvy. They're very much paper-based, they're very much archaic, and this is where we want to disrupt by bringing in digital technology and digital payments back to them. So we've all onboarded them onto our own proprietary platform on the back end, and that's part of the game as we do this, because again, if you can kind of have this cash flow process which goes very quick back to them, they can reinvest that money in creating new products. So this is why I think the criticality for us is not just the front end, but it's also the back end in closing the loop with all of our partners as we think about it. And our goal, when you look at it, right, Handloom Arts and Crafts is the second largest employer in India. So there's tens and thousands of weavers and artisans, and the more we can onboard them and digitize payments, bringing them onto our platform, it becomes a huge supplier moat, because now they're getting the payments faster from us. They actually love that capability back from us. And of course, they become one of delivery people for us too, in terms of product supply. So I just want to make sure that we think about this as an end-to-end solution as we kind of do that. And that's how we think about it.
Yeah, so while you spoke of that, Vinod, you were talking about one more very interesting phenomena where you said that, you do not want people to return things online because you want them to come offline to your store to return. It's some Go Green initiative, Go Green discount that you give. So folks, if you buy on their site and you choose not to return online, you get a discount. And then you can go very well and return it offline. So that's the way you're promoting footfalls offline. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. That's a very interesting concept that we discovered while we were discussing this.
It's quite an interesting point thing that we're trying to do. The way we look at our online business today is not necessarily a sales channel kind of a behavior. We are looking at it as a channel of convenience. And that is the focus that we want to bring to our customers, that if you want to have convenient shopping where you want to probably buy just one quantity or two quantities which are specifically required for a particular occasion that you want to buy, you know your size, you know the product that you are interested in, you can buy online because it's a channel of convenience for you. But if you want to experience a complete behavior on how a product would look on you, how the product, you want to feel the product, we want to encourage customers to come to our stores. So what we did on our online business is we basically have added a small feature as we call the Go Green initiative. It is also sustainable and hence called Go Green. Essentially talks about, basically gives a 5% discount to the customer if you buy on westside.com today. But the customer then gives up the capability of doing a return online. She can always come to my store, and we have 220 Westside stores today, and they will only keep on increasing in terms of count across India, and return in any of the stores with no questions asked, because that's the policy that we follow. But we want to make sure that the customer, if she decides to take a discount with us, we would want to drive the traffic of the customer into the store rather than doing an online return and waste the time and money behind the reverse logistics that essentially is actually far more costlier than the forward logistics. And that is the thought. And it has worked beautifully for us. Numbers do speak for it. We are far better. In fact, we are almost 1/5 of the industry average in terms of returns that are happening on the website, which is fantastic because then lesser returns for you, lesser management of returns, lesser headache of refunds and reverse logistics. And the best part is the customer is actually walking into a store for you, which eventually she would not just return the product, but hopefully like the ambience of the store, like the West Side store that she's walking into, and hopefully buy a little more than what she has actually originally bought. And that is what the idea is.
Oh, that's interesting. How to drive up sales when somebody has come to return. That's
Yeah.
and Prashant, you also had some similar tactic, right? Or some similar strategy that you have that you want people to come to the store.
No, basically, we are not doing this by any force or chance, but just for the customer experience, we have enabled that feature, that if you want to buy online and return offline, that is available. So this is just for the customer experience, not for any kind of green initiative which is done by Vinod, or mentioned by Vinod.
Raghu, your thoughts on this of having person come, because you are a pure online brand. You don't have stores, okay? So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think part of the game plan for us is certainly to build Omni-Channel as we kind of go through this, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of learnings. But when you look at our current structure and how we are global, as well as online only, we want to make sure that the customer experience is actually so seamless, right? So as we were talking about returns, it's interesting because fashion itself, as we all know, it's got pretty high returns. Because we kind of go do all of the groundwork upfront, our return rates is actually a couple of percent, just 2% or even lesser, right? And the way we do that is we do all the upfront legwork before it gets to the customer, and we let the customers return to their country of choice where they are. Because today we ship to 40 plus countries as we do that, not just India, right? So giving that customer, interestingly, that flexibility, but at the same time doing all the legwork beforehand kind of makes a huge difference. And this is where I think we are investing more and more on technology, to your point earlier, right? So that we make the user experience on the front end so seamless, so that we kind of build that trust along with the cable.
So Vivek, what are your thoughts on this of having person in store, or because there are industries like, for example, the banking industry where they don't want you to come. No bank wants you to visit the branch because it's a cost for them. For you folks, it's a different thing. You want people to come to your store, right?
So Bopis and Boris is what it is typically called. Bopis and Boris, buy online and pick up at store, and buy online and return at store.
Yeah.
It's a given. In consumers' mind, people are adopting it pretty well. In our sector, may not be in that great a volume, but I completely agree with Vinod when he said that, when they come back to the store, there are chances that she'll buy more.
Yeah.
And that's a truth, because once you're in the store, you're typically returning or exchanging. When you're exchanging at that time, fashion as a category allows you to sort of introduce new things to the consumers.
The customer can discover,
They
things.
discover a lot more, and I'm sure that it's a very early journey for all of us. I'm more than sure that in times not too far away from now, that we would see Boris not as a bad thing to happen to our store. It may be actually a very, very good consumer lifetime value increase opportunity.
Great. Abhishek, you brought about this point about sustainability, and like you are one of the early adopters and you have a goal of being a sustainable and a responsible company. What does returns have to do with sustainability for us? We want to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, so a lot of things, as in return management in itself is a messy job. Everything that comes back to us goes through the entire refinishing process, which involves electricity, water, etc., etc. So if you ask me as in how you can reduce it, there's been a lot of technology available in the market wherein they actually canvas a customer, the return percentage, and they tell you in advance that if you accept order from this customer, the 80% chances are that you will get your product back. So there are softwares and tools available. If you ask me how in the Western world people are really making it a little more difficult, is they are charging for the forward logistics and people are returning less. because you have to pay again and again. And it's not only forward. In some countries and some brands are charging for the reverse logistics as well. In India, it's free, and probably that's the reason our return percentage are very high. But when it comes to sustainability, of course, there's a lot that we can save on. When you don't take return and when you are calling customer back in your store, probably you are saving on logistics, you are saving on a lot of process, you are saving on the shipping costs, you are saving on the lot of packaging material. So those are the sustainable drive. Everything and anything that we do has some or the other environmental impact, that is for sure. But as company, if we can, we all can, or as industry, if we can decide that that is something, that is the way to go, I think that's the idea should be. Let's charge for the forward logistics, let's charge for the reverse logistics, and if possible, allow them to return it to the store, but that's possible when your network size is huge. When you have only 40, 45 stores like us, it is difficult for
I, as a customer, don't want you to charge us for any logistics. It should be free. Everything should be free, right?
I was just going to say that, right? It's almost exactly the opposite that we think about as a strategy for us. Our forward logistics is 100% free shipping for customers, right? Even on the returns, because we manage it very tightly, we actually allow free shipping on the back also, because we cannot manage towards a 2% return. So we want to eliminate the friction, not actually charge anybody for it. And we also allow, so let's say our customers are sitting in the US, we allow them to return back within the US. So they don't see it as a product coming from India. They see it as a local product as they kind of do it, and it builds the confidence and the trust for them, right? They get charged in US dollars, they return back in the US, and they see it as a local product. And when you differentiate that way, it absolutely breaks all barriers. So it's exactly the opposite strategy that we think about.
No, I actually think it can also be with the category of goods that they are selling. For example, my average purchase from Amazon would be like 10 a month, 15 a month. Oh, and logistics of that, it works with them. For them, I would buy, say, once a quarter. Yeah. Okay, so it also depends on the category. You were saying something, Vivek.
Yeah, so, while we speak about reverse logistics, I really like the idea about 2% return. The 2% return is not just because consumer isn't willing to return, it's also about how well have I sold at the beginning of the journey. So I think while one may do a lot of things to deter the consumer from returning, I think when I'm selling upfront, that's the time to ensure that returns are much, much lower. In value segment, in segments where the frequency of purchase is higher, harder to do. But I think it's something that we'll have to learn along the time to really figure. Because I don't think the solution is in deterring consumers from returning. Solution is probably somewhere in ensuring that the consumer believes in what they bought from me. There are fake returns, that happens, but that's okay. That's something that you have to take on your chin and get on with life. It's the cost of doing business.
Okay.
So I'll just add what Raghu said, that you want your people free shipping, free return. Believe me, end of the day, it's the bottom line that matters. You are not giving it free to customer. You are charging them, but you are not telling them. It's the cost of the product that you have built in. That's where. So that's the margin. Whether you want to tell them in advance and you lower the product cost, or you don't want to tell them and charge them, that's the strategy that one should look at. But how customer is looking into it is probably its customer's view. But believe me, to my understanding, there's nothing free in this world.
There is
Okay. Okay. So while we've discussed at length about inventory logistics, I just want to switch to the customer per se. Customer profiling. I just want anybody to, tell you, we can start this discussion on how is the customer profile different of an online or an offline versus an omni-channel player. I mean, anybody.
So I think I'll take this one. Online customer, in our case, are mostly aspirational, sometimes value seekers too. And that's the reason probably during end of season sale, my site crashed once or twice because the moment I say flat 50% of the site crashed. So I think that's one differentiation between the offline and the online customer. Second thing, I think for us, we prefer our customers to come to our store because we really like to serve them. We want them to touch, feel, and experience the product and then buy it. And that's the reason probably in stores you have hardly any return or very, unless, or the size exchange only. Online, there are a lot of aspiration. They buy, they try, but probably at one point of time, they also decide that the value of the product is so that they can't afford to and they return. So that's the difference that you'll see in an offline and online customer.
Yeah.
So what we do is we have a 27 cohort segmentation of our consumer base that we work with. And the cohort is based on categories of consumption, channels of choice. Currently, the channels of choice is between my brand D2C and my stores, which encompasses most of the omni-channel business for us. There is specific communication that is targeted to each of the cohorts, which could be category, which could be deals, which could be new introductions, and so on and so forth. And one has seen that every time you have been sharper on your targeting, better choices on cohorts, it has done much, much better. So the segmentation to me is not by an online customer or an offline customer. It's a mix of the two channels, because at the end of the day, the consumer is not differentiating a lot between beinghumanclothing.com and a Being Human Clothing store. And that's one truth. Sooner we accept, better it is for our own businesses, because the prices are the same, the collections are the same, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Maybe Atul, just to add, I think I completely resonate with the thought that Abhishek spoke about in terms of the online customer. There are very clear two differentiator that an online customer versus an offline customer actually plays with. The first one is the price itself, and the customer is always, not always necessarily, but most of the time seeking a discount unless and until she wants to buy a specific product which she wants delivered, but she's more or less looking for a discount. And eventually the best of the person who would want to buy in an offline store would want to spend or splurge herself into an offline store would eventually become a value customer online. That's how it turns out to be. And the second important factor is the customer who is buying online is not worried about seasons or fashions the way the point of view that a retailer would present inside of a store. So she is okay to buy something which is 2 seasons old, 3 seasons old, if she's getting a 80% discount on it, right? Whereas in an offline store, you would not want to do that. You would not want to show something which is 2 seasons old, or even for that matter, 1 season old after you finish your end of season sale. And that is where a lot of retailers actually look at online to become a liquidation kind of a channel for old season merchandise, rather than a full season merchandise being sold inside of using that channel. So that's how I think the customer is actually getting conditioned to that behavior, further fueled by the retailers, because they want to further target the top line. It doesn't matter whether it is at an 80% discount, it is 2 seasons old merchandise. I was anyway scrapping it. Even if I get 20% on it, I'm happy with it, because I would have scrapped it at 5%. That is the approach that most of the guys take.
So Prashant, with you, isn't it offline is the preferred thing, because shoes is something I want to wear, walk, and then buy it? I mean, because normally shoes is slightly more,
basically,
I would more like to touch and feel before I buy it, right?
Whenever it is coming to the apparel industry, the online is a more preferable platform, I will say so, than the footwear, if we compare between apparel and footwear. Because usually what happens, footwear is being tested and tried by walking or so. It cannot be just by seeing it. I may like it very good, but I would like to feel it. I would like to run it. I would like to walk it at least before buying it. So probably, yes, that is a difference still in India at least, because I am not aware about or I will not speak about the other markets, but at least in India, still people are preferring trying and testing before buying it. So yes, but still we are doing very good amount of business online as well. So I will not say that people are still not going towards online, but yes, on footwear industry we are going to some handsome kind of amount business on online as well, and that too on a core products, not on a discounted products, just to add Vinod's line.
So I think we have a different experience here, and for footwear I know my size and I know my size. Footwear sizes don't change. Even if I put on weight, I lose weight. footwear size doesn't change at all. So I think footwear is one category where we see the least return in that category, and that's my fastest growing online category, subcategory
really?
for me. So for me, I'm selling footwear like left, right, and center online.
Abhishek, I can tell you as a consumer, I don't remember when I went to a store to buy a shoe.
Yes, and of course, as in to buy a shoe, I don't think I go to a store anymore. I like the shoe. I click the photograph and I search it on Myntra. You order it, it's there in your home tomorrow morning.
Yeah, sure. Post COVID, I guess the more people have started buying online footwear also. Prior to COVID, yes, the scenario was different, but post COVID, yes, scenario has drastically changed.
Sure. Yeah, Raghu, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was just going to add to what he said, right? Interestingly, the markets seem to be quite different when I look at it between India and international. And it's something I want to kind of call out here because whether you take apparel or even footwear, the largest retailer today of apparel, let's take the US market or internationally, is actually Amazon. People don't look for touching and feeling it. They are comfortable, right? Because you've built that trust in the brand. And the same thing is true with footwear. Zappos is the largest player of footwear, right? So it feels like there is an evolution which is happening in India, right? But you can kind of see the world evolving as we kind of do it. And that's kind of what we are seeing too, right? Whether it's fashion or the other accessories that we kind of sell, there's a completely different play as we do it. And India is very discount heavy. I completely agree with you. We get surprised when we see people offering 70%, 80%. But it's evolving because in our history, we have never done discounting more than 10%. We've trained our customers not to expect discounts. We've trained them to expect service, selection, and that kind of a delivery with full convenience, right? So they can trust our brand. They know that they get it free shipping front and back. They can trust our product. So I feel like there is a natural evolution happening, and there's a huge difference that's happening between the international markets in India. And my guess, 5-10 years from now, we probably will be looking more and more similar to the international markets if we go up the value chain. And that's very important.
Then in that case, we will charge for forward and reverse too.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so gentlemen, we are running short of time. I hate being a spoil sport and stopping this discussion. But just 1 minute each maybe of closing thoughts on where you see this omni-channel world moving.
Okay.
Yeah, Vivek.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Omni is the future. Omni is today as well.
Okay.
We've got. I think the consumer's ready. We've got to fix our inventory systems, our supply systems, and logistic systems to be able to serve the consumer. Consumer is very, very happy to buy online, pick up at store, and vice versa, and all the possible permutations and combinations. The sooner it gets smoother for the consumer from a point of view of price, product assortment, experience, speed of delivery, and return if needed be, we will be able to see our stores working 24/7 far, far better.
Abhishek.
So for me, I think one thing, solve the logistics part, and Omni is the solution that we have. Better efficiency, more selling more and more product in full price within season is possible when we have better and bigger logistics and Omni-Channel that's available. That's my thought.
Raghu.
Yeah, my take is I think Omni-Channel is very much the game to play as we do this. But let's be clear on what the strategy is and the differentiation is between the online and the offline. Because the game plan is quite different, the customer expectations are quite different, and what we can offer to customers is also quite different. The key is integrating them very seamlessly so that we can truly get the benefits of both. We are extremely digital first, we know this, but we clearly have a roadmap ahead which includes both. And so be very clear on what your strategies are between online and offline.
Sure. Vinod.
I think the lines between the online business and the offline business are only going to get blurred further. It will merge into a common omni-channel behavior, the true omni-channel behavior as we expect it to be. Interestingly, you pointed out, Atul, various scenarios at the start saying buy online, click and collect, reserve and collect. Those kind of behaviors will become more and more prominent in at least in India for sure. Internationally, it's already more or less far more advanced compared to what we see in India. But at least that behavior, I expect it to grow more and more because a customer most probably will start a journey online for sure, but end up into an offline journey at some point, at least not all the times, but most of the times. But the challenge on logistics, with Abhishek was also pointing out, is real. It is a problem that probably doesn't have a solution across the globe today, because everyone is suffering because of the costs that are involved and the bottom line impact that it costs, basically is causing it. So yes, that also will get amplified. So we need a solution that can actually handle that. But yes, I'm sure as I mentioned, lines will keep on blurring.
Prashant.
See, yes, definitely Omni has I will say Omni is today, and there will be many more coming up with the Omni. The rightly mentioned the logistic issue by almost all the panelists. We are facing more issue than anybody else, because our part or our product is considered in a volumetric weight. Okay, so in issues volumetrically having higher values than any apparel industry. So yes, we are also facing the same issues, but yes, we are trying to conquer those issues, and will definitely, I'm sure the technology will help us. Otherwise, other partners will also help us to solve that issues. And still we are having a very steady growth whenever it is coming to the brick and mortar stores. So we are having a proper strategy with brick and mortar stores, that is offline as well as online both. We are having, in fact, we are having two different warehouses. One is to cater our entire requirements about our brick and mortar stores, and another total dedicated warehouse for our e-com fulfillments. Whereas in my e-com warehouse is live with my stores to fulfill from the warehouse as well. So we have a clear strategy, and we are moving ahead with the Omni as well as brick and mortar.
So thank you very much,
Thank
folks. And it was really, really enlightening discussion, and really learned a lot of things. And I did not pitch anything about Razorpay solutions. But one thing, we have a stall right outside Rast Mill, walk left opposite Speaker's Lounge. We have ready-made solutions to almost all the problems that you spoke about: reconciliation, what you call instant refunds, settlements. Everything is ready. As of now, we are servicing a lot of clients like you. Would love to have you at the stall and discuss more about it. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you.
Then you have to remove that I accept button also from the Razorpay, and you have to come for a mutually agreed agreement, and then probably you will see we all coming to your counters.
Whatever you say.
Good job,
Atul,
Atul. Thank you.
You're anyways doing ours.
Yeah. So we are anyway servicing it. Thank you. Thanks, folks. Thank you.